Just when I start to wonder, what will I do when I run out of stories, somebody posts a video titled, "Chew with your mouth closed," and boing, the bells go off, and here comes a story. A very famous Korean musician was making his first tour of the US, and he was coming to San Francisco, Seattle, and New York City, teaching and performing. His instrument was the Kayageum. It's an instrument very similar to the koto, a zither-type instrument. I already had been performing on the jung, which is the Chinese equivalent to that instrument, and so I thought I would study Kayageum with him. I did, and a few other things along the way. He was in San Francisco for a while, then I went up and joined him in Seattle, and then he took me with him when he went to New York. I learned many things about him. Mainly, he was laughing at Americans. And he told me one day that they laughed a lot at Americans, he and his friends from Korea. The way we do things. For instance, getting on a bus. Everybody pays, if it's a group of friends getting on together, each person pays individually. They thought that was very funny. Why doesn't one person pay for everybody? Then the next time they get on the bus, somebody else will pay. We just won't do that. Same in a restaurant. Why does everybody want the separate checks? Or they sit there studiously with their pads and pencils, figuring out exactly who owes what. This was in the 60s. I don't think everybody was carrying around calculators. So they get it all divided, they share the tip and everything. He thought that was very funny. But the funniest thing he thought was, the way you eat is so funny. We just laughing at the way you eat. Always keeping your lips together, your mouth closed. Why are you doing that? You're missing the whole beauty of chewing. The lips should be slightly apart when you're chewing, so that you can hear the food being chewed. You can distinguish different foods, make different sounds. And some you have a crisp sound, some it's more juicy. There's a great variety of instrumental sounds almost that you could be hearing if your lips were slightly apart. Okay, well, I had been trying to learn a lot of other things from him, so I worked on that. Well, it took some time. No, Margaret, no. He said, you don't have enough saliva. You have to have just the right amount of saliva, because if you don't have enough saliva, it sounds dry, and you don't get enough of the texture of the food in the sound. So I tried to gather together a gob of spit to moisten it a little, and no, Margaret, that's too wet. It's too sloppy sounding. You have to have just the right amount of saliva. I finally got that down. Now, the tempo. If you're going too slow, it sounds like you're being very careful and self-conscious. On the other hand, if you're going too fast, it just sounds like you're a pig. You're just gobbling it down. It has to be just the right tempo. So that's that for chewing with your mouth closed. When we got to New York, I finally figured out one of the biggest things, something he had never taken the pains to tell me. I used to get so tired with him. When we would go walking, even like we spent a lot of time at the Metropolitan, and I just could never catch up. I finally figured it out. I was supposed to be walking behind. And when I was always walking so fast to keep up with him, that meant he had to walk faster to stay ahead of me.